Well, hello. It's Dr. Nick, your favorite personal growth coach, and welcome to another episode of Adulting in My Purpose. You know, I'm always excited to be with you each and every week because we're coming together to talk about everything adulting. And welcome for those that are watching for the first time or tuning in for the first time. Welcome. Thank you for listening. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. You know, make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe. Let others know what we're doing with Adulting in My Purpose movement. You know, for my first timers out there, if this is your first time, I always like to give an introduction so you can know who I am and know what I'm doing. So I'm Dr. Nicole Rankin, better known as Dr. Nick. I'm a certified personal growth coach. And really my vision is to help young leaders truly discover who they are, clarify their vision, and then get a plan to take their next steps in life. You know, how many of you have ever felt that you have felt like you were stuck, not knowing what direction you want to get to? So we are building this platform, Adulting in My Purpose, to let you know that you are not alone. We're bringing and creating a movement, creating a network of young people who are coming together and just figuring out this adulting thing together, right? We know that adulting is hard. It can suck, but we don't have to do it by ourselves. So this is what Adulting in My Purpose, their platform is. And each and every week, we have the opportunity to talk to some amazing millennials who are out there, as I call them, making moves, making an impact, and truly adulting in their purpose. So if you're out there, if you're a young adult in your 20s and your 30s, be sure, find us on Facebook, join in, get in the movement, lean in to we'll let you know what events or activities we have going on throughout the year, and stay connected, because that's what it's all about. It's building a network of support as you are transitioning and doing this whole adulting thing. So I'm excited. Let's get into today's session because we have another amazing millennial who is making moves. So I want to introduce to the adulting platform founder of Adulting with ADHD, Gloria Joy Sherrod. And she is coming out of Chi-Town. We had another Chi-Town earlier this month. Chi-Town is representing. But Gloria, she is a trained therapist with years of experience working with a range of diagnoses, including anxiety, depression, OCD, PTSD, bipolar disorder, and neurodevelopmental conditions. So Gloria recently moved into her passion of full-time ADHD coaching, advocacy, and education. She is additionally passionate about advocating for equity in education, access to care, and ending mental health stigma. So I want to welcome to the platform, Gloria Joy Sherrod. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing very well. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's get into our conversation. So you are the founder of Adulting with ADHD. So let's kind of talk about that first before we get into how you got to this. But what is ADHD?
So ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition like autism, and basically there are 3 different presentations that it can have. So someone can be inattentive where they just struggle with organization and planning and also kind of focusing for longer periods of time, and they might be more easily distracted than others. And then there are people who have hyperactive impulsive type, and they have some of the similar struggles with attention and things like that. But in addition to that, they also might have difficulties with kind of appearing as if they're hyperactive, whether that might be they're talking a lot or moving around a lot. They might work, more than others, or feel like they just can't sit down and do one thing. And it's really an issue of being able to filter out distractions and all of the things that are happening around us. Instead of being able to just focus on one thing, which I think in this day and age is an issue for everyone, but especially in ADHD, everything is kind of just coming at us at once. And then people have both of those too as well.
Okay. Wow, wow. So this is good because, like as you said, being in the society that we're in now, it's like sensory overload. So how does one kind of identify that they are exhibiting kind of symptoms of ADHD versus just that overstimulation?
For sure. So it's basically the diagnosis is made on the basis that you are struggling more than other people. So where other people might be distracted by their phones, or they might be easily overstimulated, people with ADHD are actually impaired by this. So they're unable to do the things that they need to do in life because of this diagnosis, versus someone who's just distracted, but they can still get things done.
Okay, that makes sense. So tell us how did you get into this career path?
It's interesting. When I was growing up, I always said I wanted to be a teacher, and I thought for sure that that's kind of what I would do when I was much younger. And then I moved into wanting to just be an entrepreneur at some point, and I thought for sure I wasn't going to go to college. After that, when I took my ACT, there's like a career assessment on there as well. And I think counselor was probably number one on my list of things to do. And I was kind of that friend that everyone would come to talk to when they needed something. So I liked helping people. I knew that. And I thought, okay, I could do that. And that's what I ended up going to school for. And I ended up being really passionate about psychology. So I didn't plan on going to college, but I ended up going all the way to a master's degree. And I really enjoyed that educational experience, studying something that I really enjoyed studying. And so after that, so while I was in my program, actually, I planned on working with trauma. So I studied trauma, I studied addictions, and then later on, I got into ADHD. When I was working, I was a community outreach specialist as well as a counselor in a community. And one of the biggest issues I saw in the school system were children who had ADHD, and the education system kind of trying to figure out what to do with these children. And I identified with it because it was also my experience growing up, even though I hadn't even been diagnosed yet when I was at this point. And so I kind of got really into it and started studying more about it, and I ended up writing my book about it. And so now, fast forward, this is my full-time thing is ADHD.
Wow. Wow. Very inspiring. Just your journey of how you got into this path. And it goes to show what we think we may want to do may not be what we're passionate about. And it's about finding that alignment. So I love the fact that you sought that through and find your passion. So as you are kind of just getting into that professional world, and as a millennial, we know that a lot of stigma and stereotypes come with your generation. So what are the biggest challenges that you see or have experienced yourself, kind of establishing yourself in the world and also in your professional industry?
I would say just information overload. In this day and age, there's so much information on what we should do and how we should do it, on social media and on the internet in general. You can find information about absolutely anything at any moment.
Mhm.
And it's hard to sit with our own thoughts and what we want and what we think when we're getting inundated with all this information. And I think it's really important that we sit with ourselves and kind of think about what we think. So that can be one of the hardest parts now, is knowing what direction we personally want to go in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so when you talk about just kind of knowing that direction, what are some of the things that you would suggest? Because you kind of found your path and found your way. What are some of the things that you would suggest to other people or other millennials or your peers that who are in that place that they're stuck and just kind of not knowing which way to go?
I think many times when I talk to people who say they don't know or that they're stuck, at the same time, they're telling me that there is something that they are sure about, but there's some kind of fear behind it, or
Mhm.
there are all these what ifs about that thing that they really enjoy or they're passionate about, whether that be they don't think it would make money, or they think that it's not important, or what have. There's a long list of what ifs when it comes to the things that we could be doing.
Mhm.
And for me, it was just kind of like pushing past those fearful thoughts of what could go wrong, and thinking about what could go right with the things that I wanted to do. And then also kind of developing the ability to overcome the fear of not being good enough at what you like to do. That's also a huge barrier. And, we, along the journey, we're not going to know absolutely everything. And we have to kind of be okay with being uncomfortable.
Good, absolutely. I love the fact that you talked about the process to overcome those fears and overcome some of those limiting beliefs that many of us and all of us have in our journey. So, can you share kind of maybe a challenge that you had to overcome and how you overcame it?
It's hard to pick one. I feel like there's challenges all along the way. I would say one of the biggest challenges that I overcame through my educational journey, I think it was either junior or senior year, or between that and my undergrad, I got really sick, and I was working full time and I was going to school in the evenings, and I got sick and I kept going. I didn't take any breaks, and it was just like a cold, at least that's what I thought at the time. And that turned into me being paralyzed overnight. And it was a rare illness. They couldn't figure out what it was at first. And when that happened, I was in the middle of working on a statistics project. It was kind of like the end of the semester and there was a lot going on. And so me pushing through that situation of, navigating what life is going to be from there was a really big hurdle. But every time I think about those hurdles and the things that were hard, I always think about how much stronger it made me. And I think about just the resilience and the lessons that come from that. And now when anything happens, I think back, like, if I could do that, I know I could do anything else.
I love that. I love and just thank you for sharing and being vulnerable and open and sharing that challenging time. So what would you say kind of will be the best way? Because as you said, there are many challenges in life and there's so many that we go through and lessons that we have to learn. But how do you keep yourself motivated and to keep moving forward?
I think just loving what I do keeps me motivated, and always checking in with myself to make sure that I'm moving towards my values and the things that I care about most in life. It can be easy to get caught up in thinking about material things or certain things that don't really matter in life. And I think as long as we're always moving towards the things that we value the most, we can always be fulfilled and motivated.
I like that. I love that. So let me ask you this, because I have some millennials that have come on the show and they're in the professional realm. I had some scientists, some doctors, and they talked about some of the challenges in the industry. Many of them happen to be African American women and in the science field. So that challenges that they have. So for you being in the psychology field and the medical field and health field, what would you say is some of the biggest challenges that you have to deal with as it relates to kind of the generational gaps? From being a millennial are kind of trying to work with maybe our Gen Zers or going backwards, our Gen Xers or baby boomers?
I think one of the biggest challenges for me is dealing with the fact that many people are okay with the status quo. And at this point, there are so many things that we know are problems within every system, whether that be the education system or the medical system. And I'm sitting here watching it not work, and everyone's watching it not work, but nobody's saying or doing anything. And that's frustrating because for me, I always feel compelled to say something when I see something isn't right. And I always feel like if there's a better way to do it, why are we not doing it that way? And there are certain, and I can't say that there's a certain generation. I think that people in general are different and have different values and beliefs, but there are certain people who are more okay with, okay, I'm just going to put my head down and do what we're supposed to be doing. And then there are other people who, like me, who are like, I literally cannot tolerate just doing what we're supposed to be doing if it's not the right thing. And so perhaps people who are used to seeing things being done a certain way are desensitized to kind of the outcomes and what's taking place as a result.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Absolutely, absolutely. That's powerful way to think about things. Because generally speaking, I've seen trends of millennials who they're not accepting that status quo. They are definitely pushing the mark, getting out their comfort zone, and finding ways to do things more effectively and efficiently. So I love the fact that you brought that out. So in this journey that you have as you are adulting and as you talked about adulting with ADHD, like who or what is your inspiration?
I am definitely inspired by my parents and pretty much everyone that came before them. I think about everything that they came from and what they were able to make and give me from that. And
Mhm.
that inspires me every day. I just can't imagine that there's anything I can't do if they got to the point where they got. And I'm hoping that my daughter can look at me and think the same thing and do even more than that.
Awesome. Beautiful, beautiful. So what role, you talked about your parents playing a role in your life. What role has a maybe a mentor or a coach played in your life?
It's hard to pick one.
Mhm.
I'm so lucky to have so many wonderful adults that inspire me around me. Growing up, I always had people that could lead me in the right direction in one direction or another.
Mhm.
Um, I would say that my author coach, Dr. Shola, she is amazing. She helped me get through writing the book, and she really helped me see why what I was doing was important, which is what drove me to keep going when I didn't feel like, continuing with writing. I
Mhm.
think I was like halfway through, and I felt like, okay, who's going to read this? Who's going to care? And I thought, okay, I'm just going to move on to the next thing because that's what I tend to do, start an idea
Mhm.
and then not finish it. But she
Mhm.
said, there are people who need your idea. There are people who need your product. And that's what's important about you completing this project. And
Mhm.
just all of the different things she shared with me about how to navigate that and kind of how to be a mom and keep balance in your life and being able to have your own life as well as your own career. Just so many different things like that have been helpful for me.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And we'll talk more about your book because you mentioned that. We want to make sure that we get that information out as well. So, as you are talking, and many of young people go through this process of trying to find their way. Like, what advice would you just kind of if you were to speak, have them like, what would you tell them as they're trying to find their purpose and find their way in the world?
I would say find inspiration in the little things in life. I think it doesn't have to be big. There are things that inspire me every single day. Every conversation I have, I feel like I'm inspired. And sometimes it's not even like a good conversation, and still something comes from it where I'm like, okay, that I could think about that.
Mm,
And spending time thinking about just the different things from anyone. And it doesn't have to be someone who's, super special or whatever that might mean to society, what special means. I think everybody is special and everyone has something to give. So knowing that and looking for those opportunities to learn from things around us is an important way to find our way and find our passion. And also, again, like not accepting the what ifs that come up in our heads when we're thinking about ourselves and our capabilities.
I love that. I love that. Find inspiration in the little things. That's a word for everybody. We can get so caught up in doing big things and seeing the big picture that we just kind of gloss over the little things that can give us inspiration. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So let me ask you this: if you had a time machine and had to start all over again, what would you do differently?
Hmm. I don't know. I can't think of anything that I would do differently. I think
Mhm.
everything that I have done in life, I learned from it, whether that was good or bad. It would have been nice to be diagnosed with ADHD earlier, but I don't know if I
Mhm.
could have controlled that. If I could control that, that would be nice. I think that there were a lot of things that I did fairly just like threw it together quickly
Mhm.
because I did not have the patience or the attention to take my time and do those things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for the lessons that I've learned, because I don't think I would be able to relate to my audience now as much as I can without having had those experiences of struggle with the diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Good. So you mentioned, and I want to talk about this because there may be some listeners out there who are experiencing the same thing, but not really knowing how to navigate that. So can you share, if there was somebody out there that says, "Hey, that's me," and they're resonating with what you said, what does one do at that point?
There are many different things you can do. I think that when I was thinking about it for myself initially, I didn't have the resources to just go to a counselor or a doctor that would know anything about ADHD. So that was a little bit difficult for me. So that's not always an option for everyone. But finding information anywhere you can, credible sources, of course. I have my information that's always credible. Where you can learn more about how your brain works and functions. And there are ways that you can navigate around some of the challenges. You may not be able to all of a sudden pay attention for long periods of time, but there are ways you can work around it and still do the things that you want to do. And I think that's one of the most important things, is to know that it's not that you can't do things. It's the fact that you have to do them differently. And knowing that we've been taught to do things a certain way in our lives, and it's the very standard cookie cutter way that they teach you in school, to organize this way and plan this way and to think that way. And that is not always conducive to the way that our brains work. So knowing that it's okay to do things differently, and that doesn't mean that it's wrong.
I love that. I love that. As somebody who has experienced that, and with my low executive functioning, I love the fact that you said I had to learn that they told me I was different. Right? They labeled me and put me in remedial classes because they didn't understand. I just wired differently, and it took a while for me to gain that confidence and to understand that I just had to do things different. So how did that for you, when we talk about your personal growth and personal development, like what did that look like for you in your process?
In terms of learning about ADHD and just navigating that whole thing?
Yeah, navigating for yourself and developing that level of just confidence in who you are and your personal growth.
It was a rough journey. I think at first in school, it was kind of like, okay, C's get degrees, like I'm getting by. Growing up, elementary, middle school, I was messy and all of that. And I had goals for being more organized, but I just couldn't get it right because I was trying to do it the way I was being told, which was not the way that was working best for me. And then when I finally realized, okay, it's okay to just try it a different way, instead of, I guess before I got to the point where I knew it was okay to try it a different way, I was at this point where I thought I just couldn't. Like, it looks like I'm bad at this. That's too bad. And when I learned that I could do it another way, it helped a whole lot for me to be more organized, but also that really wasn't the change maker. I think the change maker for me was accepting myself and knowing that the way that I was okay. Because I think when we don't accept ourselves and the way that we are, it's hard for us to even begin to make that change of doing something differently, because you still in your mind feel like you should be doing things another way. And when we should ourselves, that's just kind of like, that's it. That's the end. We don't follow up with any solutions or anything like that. So the self-acceptance, I think it's an ongoing process. But at this point, I mean, when I started this journey, I think when I first wrote my book, I would be personally offended if anyone said anything about ADHD, or it's not real, or you're, the way that you do things is wrong. And now at this point, like, okay, that's fine. And that self-acceptance has been really helpful in pushing me forward.
Wow, awesome. It's such an inspiration. Just even thinking about it's bringing me back to my struggles and the things that I had to overcome, especially as a young person. As an adult, you learn to adapt and adjust. But as a young person, it was hard. Like you said, it was difficult trying to find that balance of understanding who you are. Like one thing I remember, like I used to use the mouse backwards for computer. I could not do it the normal way. It just would not work. And people was like, that's not the way you do it. Well, who said? Because when I turn it backward, I do it fine,
Mm-hmm.
and just finding that balance of who you are. So I love the fact that you have that self-awareness and, can share that. So let's talk about your book, because you mentioned it a few times. So I want to get into what your book is about and who it's for.
So my book is called Adulting with ADHD, Navigating Life with Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about learning how your brain works and being able to accept the way that your brain works, kind of those lessons that I was saying that I've learned along the way, and finding the strengths in it while also accepting some of the struggles. And then, within the book, there are many practical strategies on navigating finances and relationships and all the different things that come along with it, just having a healthier lifestyle and doing things differently in the way that would work best for you.
And where can someone get the book?
So you can find it on Amazon, and you can also find it on my website, gloriajoysherrod.com.
All right, guys. So make sure you go to the website and grab the book and use it it's a resources. If you know someone, if you yourself are struggling with this and want more information, definitely let's make sure we support Gloria with her book. Website is there. I'll also put it in the comments as well. Awesome. So outside of your book, you have your practice and your clients. What are some of the things that you like to do for yourself?
I love exercise, just finding new creative ways to exercise.
Yeah.
Yoga, Pilates, running, hiking, actually, when I can. So in Chicago, there's not a whole lot of that. But when I travel, I love to hike and do things like that and explore. So I guess traveling too is one of my favorite things to do, and see new places and try new food. I love food. So anywhere there's food, yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you love food, you definitely have to like to exercise too, right?
Yes, exactly. Let's go hand in hand.
Go hand in hand. I love it. So what are some of the, if you can think about some of the resources or maybe tools that you have used that kind of make life easier for yourself that maybe others can think about to use for themselves? Do you have anything that you can share on those?
For sure. Asking for help. I think that's one of the biggest things, is knowing that we don't have to do everything ourselves. And I think that our culture tells us that, we have to be individually strong and good at everything, but you really don't have to. You can be good at the things you're good at and ask for help for the things that you might not be. And, you can develop skills in areas where you might not have the strongest skills initially, but you can also, outsource and ask for other people to do some of those things. Also, I would say that being intentional and planning out time is really important. And even though it's an extra step, which I really had to learn for myself, because I used to hate planning and, writing things out and all of those things, I was completely resistant to that. Over time, I learned that, if I just have at least 2 intentions for my day and for my week, I can get those things done, but also not feel guilty about the things I didn't get done because I was intentional about what I did plan.
I like that. That definitely helps you to keep focused and keep organized. And as I always say, keep the main thing, because we can get so bogged down with this long to-do list and then have those expectations. If we don't make it, then something is wrong. We get down on ourselves. So I love that. Awesome. So let me ask you this question. What are you, outside of your book, and if you've got some more books in you to come, if you were to write a book just about anything about yourself, what would the title be and what would it be about?
about myself, it's funny because I was just thinking about this recently. I would probably write a book about just being different in many different aspects. I think my journey is sort of unique in how I came to where I am. And so just writing about what it's like to be different and what that journey is like.
I love that. I love that. So when is that book coming out?
I don't know. Hopefully within the next couple of years, I'll write another book. That's the goal.
I love it. Absolutely. I love it. We look forward to seeing that out. Awesome. 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 So let me ask you this, and just thinking about, as a personal growth coach, I love to talk about things that people do for personal development. So what are your top 3 tips for personal growth?
I would say personal growth, caring for yourself, eating right, exercising, scheduling things in, and scheduling time for yourself. I remember I had a professor that would always say, make an appointment for yourself. And so now when I make my calendar, I always make a calendar block that's just my lunch, my time that I take for myself, because it can be easy to just stack stuff up and then you look at it and you realize none of that time was for you to just be.
That's good.
I would say that number 2, spend time to just be. That's really important, especially now in the information age with all the things that we have surrounding us. It's really important just to remember that it's okay to be doing absolutely nothing. And we can feel guilty doing absolutely nothing sometimes when, everyone's doing all the things all the time. But we need that. We need that in order for our brains to be functional to do the stuff that you want to do. And then a third one, let's see. Have fun in life. I think that's important. I love to have fun. And I would say that is, I think that growing up, work hard, play hard was like my motto. And I would do that almost to excess on the work end. And what I learned was that I'm not living to work. I'm living for the fun part, even though the work part's important. I want to enjoy my life. That's important.
Wow. Yes. All of those tips are definitely needed. And you're speaking to me now, Gloria. Thank you very much for the reminders. These are things that I definitely need myself. And I have incorporated, and it took me a while to do that, and getting that self-care and prioritizing myself. So I don't feel guilty anymore if I just not do anything. It's a wonderful feeling.
Yes, it is.
It's a wonderful feeling. So let me ask you this. What is one thing that most people don't know about you?
I don't know. Most people don't know about me. I'm sure there's probably plenty of things that people don't know about me. I don't know. I have to think about that one. I don't know.
No worries. No worries. So let's see. What is you said you love to travel. What is your favorite place that you've traveled so far? And where is a place that you want to go?
Let's see. So my favorite place that there's 2. I'm always in between these 2. Hawaii, and Greece were the 2 most beautiful places I've ever been. But I also went to Africa. I can't say. So that was the most enriching experience that I've ever had, but it was when I was younger, before these other traveling experiences. So I don't remember it as much as I do these other ones. But where do I want to go? I want to go to Australia. It's interesting because through Instagram, I've connected with a lot of people in Australia for some reason. That's I don't know if ADHD is a hot topic there, but it's really interesting and it's cool to talk to them about talk to everyone really from everywhere about what it's like to have ADHD where they are and how their medical system functions and how their society functions to accommodate them or not. And I really kind of want to go to different places to see what that looks like for people where they live.
Wow, awesome, awesome. It's amazing how the internet can be used for such great work and such great impact. Like you can travel the world just by hitting the button and make those types of connections. That's awesome. I love it. So let's see. What else do I want to know about Gloria? How about, let me ask you this. What are you listening to or reading at this time?
So right now, I have like a million books happening in my Audible, but I'm almost done with one, which I'm pretty proud of. I think I have like an hour left. Eloquent Rage by Brittany Cooper. That is such a good book. It's about Black feminism, and I have not read many books about that subject matter. Unfortunately, that's like I have a long list of them now, but it's such an interesting thing to read about a lot of my life experiences and the things that I've seen in a way where it's articulated in a way that I have not thought of before, but also kind of adds some historical context and some just educational context to parts of my life that I've observed myself and that I might have intuitively known, but didn't ever hear anyone say.
Awesome. Awesome. So you guys make sure you take note of those books that were mentioned as well. So where do you see what's next for you? Where do you see yourself probably in the next 10 years?
So I have so many things I want to do. Yeah. So I have a documentary, also Adulting with ADHD, that talks about my journey and the journey of other people who were diagnosed with ADHD. And I would like to make more of those, hopefully, eventually. And I also want to write more books. I also want to open a physical practice. Right now, my ADHD coaching is all virtual, which is great. I think it's very effective, but eventually I'd like a practice where it implements yoga and occupational therapy services and therapy all in one place. So a place that kind of has all of the different things that we might need in one place.
Awesome. Awesome. So you're holding out on us, Gloria. So you got a documentary as well?
Yes.
So tell us more about that and how can we see it? Is that available to watch? Where can we go to do that?
Yeah, so you can go on my website again, and there are a couple links. It's on Vimeo as well as Uscreen. And that documentary, I think it's been a year now. No, it came out in October, so it hasn't even been a year since it came out.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted people to be able to see ADHD from a lens that people don't see it now. I think there's a lot of stereotypes and ideas about what it is. And, the textbook makes it look like one thing, but when you see how it really impacts people in real life, it's a whole different thing. And I wanted to be able to, increase my ability to remove the stigma and the stereotypes. So is it 5 people, including me, who are talking about their journeys with ADHD and what it was like for them growing up and what it's like for them now. And it's really interesting. The first Black woman to get a PhD in computer science from Purdue is in it. And she's talking about her journey of not being diagnosed until she was an adult. So it's really good stuff.
Powerful, powerful. Awesome. Well, congratulations on that. Congratulations on the documentary and the book. What else are you hiding from us, Gloria?
Right. Well, I guess that's the thing that people don't know about me now. Yeah, pretty much. I guess this is not a secret now since I'm on Instagram and that's what I do. But before that would have been a secret is how much I enjoy creating. That is another thing that I did a lot growing up. And, I had a YouTube channel growing up that it got like pretty decent amount of views. I deleted it like when I came into adulthood because I thought people are going to need to like take me seriously and I can't be silly on the internet, which is funny, full circle, because here I am now being silly on the internet again, in a helpful and good way.
Mhm.
But I always loved to create and educate at the same time. So that's
Mhm.
one of my many passions that I think that maybe people do now know, but did not know before.
I love it. I love it. You're just full of secrets. Awesome. So you're doing great things and making an impact and truly just helping people really come into their own who may have, like you said, there's a lot of stigma, a lot of stereotypes with ADHD. But, just when you love yourself and know yourself, you can do whatever it is that you desire, and you're a living example of that. So I'm just excited to have known you, having this time just to talk to you, and thank you for sharing your story. That's such an inspiration, such an inspiration. So let me give you a few minutes just to talk to our audience, talk to our young people out there. What would you tell them, just living in this world and doing this adulting thing?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
Being an adult, there are a lot of different things that we learn along the way. And
Mhm.
inevitably there are going to be times where things don't go so well or we fail, but failure is an opportunity for us to learn things. And I think that in some aspects, for some of us, it's easier for us to know that. And then in other
Mhm.
aspects, not so much. But every time we fall in any scenario or things don't go right, that's an opportunity for us to sit and figure out what that situation is trying to teach us,
Mhm.
and to be okay with allowing that to happen, and being okay with navigating the world in discomfort, because
Mhm.
things are not always going to be comfortable. It's funny, as a therapist, people oftentimes come to therapists wanting, for things to be more comfortable for them or to feel better, which I think is, intuitively that makes sense. But there are many times where we have to say, in order for you to get more comfortable, you have to be uncomfortable first. And that's always going to be the case no matter what. So if there's anything that you're afraid of that you are uncomfortable with, in order for you to get more comfortable with that thing, you'll have to be uncomfortable first.
Love that. You just dropping a lot of just golden nuggets for life. So it has been amazing. So how do we get in touch with you or see you, or where do we go?
You can go to gloriajoysherrod.com, or you can find me on Instagram, X Adulting with ADHD X, and that's where most of my content and my education is. And then Facebook as well. I'm on Facebook under Gloria Joy Sherrod.
Wonderful. So everyone, make sure you go to Instagram and Facebook and check out Gloria and all her content and her acting silly, as she says, and doing some great education and just helping people increase their awareness of ADHD and all of the things that come along with it, and how you can still be productive and successful and do amazing things and be who you are authentically. Right. So that's what I love about you. You just have a genuine spirit, just as genuine heart. It has been a pleasure to talk with you, just to have this conversation. So again, thank you so much for taking your time, for coming on and just sharing you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed chatting with you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you the last question that I ask every single guest that comes on Adulting in My Purpose. What does adulting in my purpose mean to you?
I think, as you just said, being authentic and being true to yourself. Anytime you find yourself being something other than what you are, inevitably you are going to be, I won't say miserable. I think that's a little bit pessimistic, but you're not going to be living life to your fullest. So as
Mhm.
long as you're being true to who you are and what you think and what you value, you can live life in your purpose.
I love it. Well, thank you, Gloria. It's been a pleasure. So much knowledge that you have shared, so much wisdom, and continue your journey, continue to make an impact, continue to make moves. Guys, this is it for this episode of Adulting in My Purpose. We are creating a movement of young, awesome, amazing leaders who are discovering who they are, clarifying their vision, and developing that plan to take that next step in life. So come back next week when we're going to have another amazing guest who is making making moves out there, truly adulting in their purpose. So you don't want to miss it. But until then, you know what to do. You stay safe and be blessed. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.